What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Glory Reds FC podcast. Of course, I'm joining the studio with my co-host Benito. What's good, my guy?
All good, D. All good, D. What's good, man?
Man, chill vibe. Rainy day, clouds.
Yeah, the heat is still blazing this side, my friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in full effect.
Yeah, it's so heat, my friend. It's just heat everywhere, heat.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
I hear you, bruh.
There's so
Yeah,
much.
man.
We've got the
They-
game going on today.
Yeah, we've got the game going on today. Our first Champions League game in a long time. We're gonna be playing against Bayern. It's an away match. Yeah, man, a lot of concerns for that match, but that's something that we'll address in our match reaction after we've watched the match. But I think there's another pressing issue at hand that we want to tackle, and that's of course with the interview that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had recently, and he had a lot to say. He had a lot to say, and
Ole,
some of
ole.
some of the things that he came out and he said were very, very shocking. Some of the things we sort of alluded to. How we have our assumptions.
Now,
Within the fan
yeah,
base,
yeah.
but then there were some things that he said that really shocked me. So I think just give our listeners like a quick summary of like how the interview went down. What sort of things did he bring up that we're shocked about, and then we'll dive more into it. So yeah, man, take it away. What happened in that interview, my guy?
you know, it's so funny that, you know, um, first of all, I first want to commend Jose Mourinho because Jose Mourinho, he's one manager I thought was going to badmouth us or speak ill of United out of all the managers that we've had. Like you think, based on his personality and his character, you'd think he would have gone out there and just told crap about United. But it's actually the opposite. It's almost like and there's one
Yeah,
interview that I'm going a little bit off, but I'll come back. There's one interview
yeah,
where
it's
he
all
was
good.
talking about very soon, like recently, where he was talking about he didn't have a connection with Tottenham. And the reason why he didn't have a connection with Tottenham, like he doesn't feel anything with Tottenham, is because he never won a trophy with Tottenham. So every
Yeah,
club he has ever managed, Roma, Real Madrid, uh,
United.
United, Inter, Chelsea, he has gone and won something. So he has something special. So he has always had something nice to say about
Yeah,
us. Ole, this interview, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Ole, bro. You would think, like, based on everything that has happened and how we were like the perception we had of Ole, we thought Ole was an Ole United through and through. But here,
yeah,
this interview was like, nah. But still disappointed with him because he still held back. There's no point of doing an interview like this, and especially if you say that you love United the way you do, I think it is time to really come out there and tell everything, expose who it was. Because I feel like some of the things that he said in that interview, some of the players are still in the squad. And the fact that they're not being named as a community, as a fan base, it's always going to be scratching us because we're going to be like, these are the cancer that are still in the club. We just don't know
yeah,
who they are. Do you understand?
yeah,
It always keeps
yeah.
us humble, but that these players that have been there, and Ole just went off. So I just want to first start off with the biggest one that surprised me. Of like that one was shocking. The Cristiano Ronaldo one. That one
Okay.
was vanity signing from Ed Woodward. Ed Woodward signed
Yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo without Ole's consent.
Consent. Yeah.
He just went there and did it, like because he's a United, like he just did what he had to do to go and sign Cristiano Ronaldo, and Ole had no power. That was one of the first red flags I saw in that interview because I was like, you know what, this emphasizes the point that we keep on saying. Does the manager have a say in the signings that we get in the club? Because we see these signings coming in here and we just don't understand, like, why are we making these signings if they have got no benefit to the team? We have split base on this Mason Mount deal. Like, people are saying we didn't need him, which is true. We didn't need Mason Mount, but actually at the same time, he's also a good player. But was it one of those signings as well where it was controlled by the higher ups, where the manager had like, okay, so this is the restriction, this is all I get, like this is what I can get right now, cool, at this, cool, I'll go with it. So that was one of the red flags. And the way Ole put it, it's like Cristiano Ronaldo really wasn't in his plans, and he was like, I had to fit him in the squad. I had to.
Yeah.
Because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, which already that shows how weak, waste man he is for just succumbing. Because you look at that, and okay, there's just so, like, I can't contain myself. So there was another.
All right.
Thing. So after bringing Cristiano Ronaldo in, when he actually had no control over the whole thing, he talks to Cristiano Ronaldo. He tells him that, listen, these are the players. He tells him about every single player that we have at the squad. He's like, this is how they are. And then he says, that's when, after I told him that, that's when egos took over and the team started to sour. So I'm starting to think, what? Did Cristiano Ronaldo start saying, okay, started talking, like imposing his into these players that he felt like needed a little bit of a battering? Because remember, Cristiano Ronaldo went on that interview where he was talking about kids that don't listen, blah, 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 blah. So I'm assuming after he had that talk with Ole, he went and started imposing this senior whatever thing that went on there, and things just broke down from there. And he told him, he's like, the team that you met in, I don't know when we got Cristiano Ronaldo, I think it was August. And by the time we reached September, he's like, this is a totally different team. But these are the players that I was warning you about. And it just blew my mind how Ole was candid in such a way, like he was so part of the problem. Like, the problems that our gaffer is trying to, like the fires that he's trying to put out right now, Ole was literally the guy that set them on fire. And we talked about this, and then he had a lot of these ex-players busy backing him and saying that he did a good job because he got us to second, blah, 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 without actually taking into consideration what was really going on in the club. And then another thing that he mentioned was the captaincy. This one, I don't know. This one we're going to have to discuss it, because he said that he was disappointed in players that refused to take the captaincy. So then I'm assuming by that's when he decided to choose Harry Maguire. Now, if we think back to that time, who were the senior players at United? Who were the players at that time who could don the captaincy? It doesn't matter of age. I mean, the age does matter, especially when you're at United. In other clubs, it doesn't really matter. But at United, it does. So who at the time do you think was refusing to take the captaincy armband? David De Gea?
I actually want to start from the whole Ronaldo thing, but yeah, sure. Let's jump into the captaincy one.
We'll go back to
so Ronaldo. Thinking of the captaincies, and you're talking about senior players. So there's what you call this? They Juan Mata. If I'm not mistaken, we still had Ashley Young at that time. So, but he was the captain, and then got removed from him. Those are basically, I think, the three players. I don't think. If Matic was asked, I could understand why maybe he wouldn't want to take that mantle, because he was still new in the team, and probably looking at his contract, it was like, I'm just here for a short stint anyway. So what's the point of me donning this captaincy armband, and I won't even be here for long? So I hear what was being said, but I think probably it was a case of asking the wrong, you know. Maybe he was asking the players that were going to be out of contract soon. So it didn't really like make sense in terms of, rebuilding the club and looking forward towards the future. Because at this point it makes sense that Bruno is our captain because we know he's gonna be with us for a long period of time and he's still young, right?
Mm.
Whereas, you're gonna give that captaincy to a Juan Mata, a Matic, etc., not really knowing where their future stands. But it is really interesting to know who exactly he did ask. Paul Pogba could have also been a player that was asked to be captain, because he's sort of regarded as a senior player because he did spend quite a long time at the club before going to Juventus. He came back, and obviously with the type of player stature and status that he had, he was
I think he
probably
would
in
have
the
going to take it.
conversation.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think Pogba would have taken it. I think Pogba
No,
was asked and he denied it. And I'm just looking at the fact that he wasn't really um a favorite like he was like there was a split fan base in terms of Pogba. Some people liked him, some people didn't, and Pogba has come out on multiple occasions, talking about how disappointed he was in terms of some of the fans not having his back, being booed at matches, being blamed for certain losses, etc. So I think that was just going to add more pressure on him, you know, in terms of him delivering on the pitch, and also just the way the manager set out the team and how he was being played in the team. So I don't really think that he felt that he was going to be a good captain to lead that team. So yeah, at this point it's just speculation. And like you said, it would have been more helpful if he just named names, because
yeah.
then it would be easier for us to really dissect, you know, the reasons why these certain players who were asked turned it down,
Mm.
you know. But yeah, so I don't know if you still want to continue. Can I jump back
Right.
to the Ronaldo?
Go back. Yeah, go to the Cristiano Ronaldo bit.
So with the Ronaldo thing and everything else said in the interview, right? I think with Ronaldo, regardless of what he was told about the players or not, it's just in his character to
Yeah,
be that sort of player who's going to go into that system and demand more from
yeah,
the player,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you spoke about he had to play him. And in all fairness, we as the fans wanted to see him play. We got very upset when Ten Hag wasn't starting him when he was
yeah.
coming off a brilliant season. And he played and he was forced into the system, but he ended up being our top scorer for the season. Even though he went through an injury spell during that season and came back and still, ended the season with quite a high scoring
Tally.
record, so to say. You know what I mean? So with the Ronaldo thing, um, I don't know how to really, put it into words in terms of,
No,
judging the decision to start him based on the type of manager that Ole is. I just think that even if we say, okay, Ole didn't want Ronaldo, why didn't you bench him? It was still gonna play against him because the
yeah,
fan base
yeah,
on his
yeah.
thing with what happened with Ten Hag. When Ronaldo wasn't being played, we were at Ten Hag's throat. Why are you not starting Ronaldo? Why are you not starting Ronaldo? So it was not going to play fair in any scenario that Ole took.
But
And then, you mentioned
here's the
about,
thing. But before you mention that, here's the thing. The time when they signed Cristiano Ronaldo, what did they tell us? You know, he's coming out now and saying that Ed Woodward went out there and bought this player without his consent. At that time, they made
yeah,
it seem like it was a collective. Hey, Sir Alex Ferguson is involved. We had to bring him in. It was going to be blasphemy if he went to Man City. They really made us
yeah,
think that he was literally part of. There was some sort of, even though it was quick, but they made it seem like there was some sort of backing behind it, like there was some sort of idea of how they're going to put him into the squad. And now he's coming out here and making him look, because okay, Ronaldo, he always went play his best game, but then he's making it look like Cristiano Ronaldo was sort of part of the problem, like him being the wrong signing kind of started this. I don't know if you understand what I mean. I don't know if I'm making any sense by what I am saying. Like Cristiano Ronaldo is not a problem in his on his own. But then by Ed Woodward buying him without all his consent, even though they made it look like it was our like it was he wanted Cristiano Ronaldo, only now to
Yeah.
find out that it wasn't really like that. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making any
I
sense.
I get what you're saying, but you know, I think this has been the bigger problem that we've always had at United is we don't know who is behind these decisions, right?
Yeah.
Same can be said with Ten Hag when you mentioned Mason Mount. Was it a Ten Hag decision or was it a club decision? And we know this club and how it handles itself in the media, so he was probably pressurized to go out there and say certain things and whatever, and obviously all these non-disclosures and everything like that, he had to sort of save face you know. Um, so I get where the frustration lies, but I'm one person who just likes to be on the fence when it comes to certain issues because until we get clarity, we can that's only when we can make like a just much called judgment to say, okay, in this scenario, then you should have taken it like this or you should have taken it like that. That club is just notorious for mafia mentality. You understand? And we don't even know what was happening at that point in time for him to come out and say certain things. We spoke about this the other time in the other podcast episode when we said that, Ole protected the players in the media, whereas other managers came out and started putting players on blast, and that's one thing we admired about Ole. You understand what I mean? Whereas Rolf
What?
came to the club and then he was just on some, I'm just going to expose all the problems, whereas Ole wasn't doing that, right?
So
So
okay, so
whereas
Ole had
that,
to wait for his non-disclosure to expire so he can expose the players
well, I guess
because
then I get where everyone is coming from, and I get where the frustration lies, But if that's Ten Hag, I'm sorry, if that's Ole, that's Ole. If he needs to be judged on it, fair enough. If people are not happy the way he went about it, fair enough, But you mentioned that Ole and a lot of the fan base is saying that okay, Ole, you had these problem players. Why didn't you make an effort to get rid of them, right?
hey.
Now, now let me continue talking. Let me continue talking. It's
Hmm.
right now everyone is angry in the moment, and I get it, right? But if you look at Ten Hag's current situation, he's trying to get rid of players, but he's failing. You understand? So because Ole's personality, or he's not the type of manager or person to come out and say, "Oh, I don't want these players. I want these." Because he wasn't vocal, it wasn't his plans to do it. And he failed, just like every other manager before him and every other manager after him. Ten Hag wanted to get rid of Maguire before the start of this season, and he failed. You understand? The only difference is he brought it to light, whereas Ole didn't bring it to light. So Ole tried to get rid of the players, but he couldn't. Ten Hag has tried to get rid of these players, and he can't. So this same problem is persistent with every single manager. So I just feel it's unfair to say Ole should have got rid of the players, but he didn't, right? Are we going to judge Ten Hag the same way and say, you're supposed to get rid of Maguire? Why didn't you? So clearly, the fault doesn't lie with the managers because the managers are trying to do their job, but the club is refusing them to do their job. Ole maybe wanted
Uh,
certain players out and he couldn't get it done. Rolf wanted certain players out, he couldn't get it done. Ten Hag has wanted players out of this club and he has failed to get it done, right? So the problem is the club. The club are not giving these managers the power to do what they need to do in order for this club to be successful.
you know what annoys me, D? What annoys me is like he identified all these problems that were there, but it seems like he condoned it because here's the problem. Here's now where things start to get tricky. When Eric Ten Hag um, batters a player or talks about him not doing whatever, he gets bashed because they're like, no, you don't do that. You don't do that to these players. When there's clearly a huge problem. Now, Ole
Yeah.
identified this problem. Like he said it, there was ego, what players refused to train. Some of them were forcing. When he said that, I knew he was who he was talking about. I knew that's Lingard. which at the
Yeah.
same time I don't understand because you didn't end up playing him. Why did you keep him? You
Yeah.
understand? So he kind of condoned. I wish as here's where I'm coming from. As a Man United through and through, as a legend of the club, as a person that says that loves Manchester United, and was even crying in his interview when he was about to leave and all that stuff. If such things really mattered to you, you would have found a way to not expose, but talk about the things that are going on in the club, except just rather than just chilling with it, because it has festered. The problem has festered. It's now moldy and now it's rotten. And now this is what our manager is now trying to do. Our manager right now is clearing. He's trying to fix. Yes, I understand that. I don't know if Ole was trying to get rid of players because of the way they were. No, because we all know Ole was the manager that was putting an arm around these players, trying to talk them down, always protecting them. But to what extent? Like, why was he doing it for? Like, I still don't understand. Only for him to
So
come out now and start saying that, yeah, these problems have been there. Damn you, Ole. We knew that these problems were there when you were there, but then you kept on hiding it. It took Ralph Rangnick to kind of say nasty, not nasty, but harsh things, harsh realities for people to wake up. It's just that we're in denial. Some people, I mean, not us, but most people were in denial. Like, wait, what is this manager talking about? He's just been here for 2 seconds. But he exposed the problem. Cristiano Ronaldo was also another person that exposed the problems that were within. Ole, as a legend of the club, was supposed to be somebody that, okay, you understand, but try and find a way to fix these problems or try to sound the alarm. He didn't.
yeah.
Now he's coming
So
out here now looking like he's the victim or some. No. I honestly, I'm annoyed by this thing. I'm annoyed by his interview because it's like, damn, these are the things that we knew were happening. But Ole, also you, the role the part you played in this whole distraction, in this problem is quite big. And now you're coming here and saying all the I don't know. I'm just annoyed. I'm
yeah.
annoyed.
So no, like I get where the annoyance is coming from, right? And I'm trying so hard not to be biased to one point of view, right? I understand where all the annoyance is coming from because I'm also feeling that same emotion, but I'm taking a couple of steps back and I'm trying to analyze this like from a wider angle and saying, okay, what could have been the possibilities for him to take this route, right? When you look at managers like Ralph Rangnick, right? He has had a longer managerial stint than Ole. Erik ten Hag has had a longer managerial stint than Ole. Both managers have achieved so much in the managerial periods before they came to the club, right? So when these managers with vast amounts of experience, it's easy for them to come in and dictate the way things should be done, to get things the way they need to be done. When you look at Ole, right? He was fairly new in terms of managing clubs, and Manchester United was his first big gig, right? He made a lot of mistakes. You understand what I mean? And these are the mistakes which are now being spoken of right now because he has that inexperience. He doesn't know how to deal with these things when they happen in big clubs because it was his first time. So for him, it's like, okay, how should I go about this? Because like you said, and like how everyone knows it, in the media was protecting the players, but we don't know what you're saying to them behind closed doors. You understand what I mean? So in the media, he was giving us this impression of, oh, I put my hand around their shoulders, you know what I mean? I'm supportive, blah, blah, blah. But you'll find that behind closed doors, he was very frustrated with the players, but then he just didn't know how to go about it. So in this case, I really sympathize with Ole because for me, it's like, look, you've gone through your learning period, right? You've got all this major backlash. Now you know better. So the only thing we can expect moving forward is when Ole goes to the next club he's going to manage, and eventually in his managerial career maybe goes ahead and manages a top 4 team across Europe, he would know better. He would know exactly what needs to be done, what needs to be said, how to control a situation, knowing that I need to get rid of certain players, even if it means costing, even if it's going to mean costing my job. Because with Ralph Rangnick, it cost him his position at the club. With Cristiano Ronaldo, it cost him his what you call this, his position at the club. He was eventually sold. All these players that have, sort
his
of
contract
come
was
out
terminated.
and put the like sort of like exposed United have all received the backlash of it. Either not getting the contracts renewed, getting forced out of the club, and this, like I said, this club is so mafia run where it's like people just don't know how to go about it. Maybe you can say the ones who are scared in a sense to say that if I come out with this news, what's going to happen to me in the future when I leave? You understand? With other managers and other people, it's fine with them because they know that, look, I know my value, I know my worth. I've been in this game for so long. I'm going to come here, I'm going to say what I need to say. And if it gets me axed, it's fine. We saw Kante do it as well. He's another manager that he speaks his mind. And because of speaking his mind, it's what has been getting him sacked from all these clubs because he demands excellence. And he's comfortable with that because he knows that I'm just here to speak the truth. And if the club don't like it, then I'll leave and go to a club that can respect me for it, and can allow me to do what I need to do to get the job done. Whereas with Ole, that was literally his first big gig. So he was probably like, I want to keep this gig, and just not knowing how to go about it. Because like if I go to the media, then there's a possibility of me getting sacked. He was probably told, and again speculating, to say, hey, you can't say this, you can't do this, you can't whatever. And we did also speak about it with Ten Hag as well. You even mentioned in the previous podcast when you're saying it's weird how nowadays how Ten Hag is now answering questions. It's so different from last season. We don't know why all of a sudden managers just flip the script at United, and it's like, okay, but why are you not telling us certain things and whatever and all of this and all of that, right? Look, don't get me wrong, I'm also annoyed at Ole, right? But again, I'm just trying to see the bigger picture here. And like I said, I sympathize with him because I know that he's not the only manager who has suffered from trying to get rid of players and has completely failed. We've had Jones since Fergie era, and he only left what this season. That's only when he left the club. Absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of
That is
also
a
this,
special case.
speaking of exactly, and like I said, even bringing it to today, you know what I mean. Ten Hag has failed to get rid of Maguire. Maguire has come out and said, "I'm not leaving this club." Do you
But
understand what I'm
he will
saying?
bounce. He will
You
bounce.
check what I'm saying. So
He will bounce.
Ten Hag is also having that same problem of trying to get rid of a player. The only difference is, and this is probably where a lot of people are getting annoyed, is that Ten Hag is like, I want to get rid of you. You don't want to leave. You're not gonna play. Whereas with Ole, it's like, I want to get rid of you. You don't want to leave. Fine, I'll continue playing. So it's like, why did you allow yourself to get bullied by these players? you know. But then again, I bring it back to inexperience. It's his first time managing a big club. You understand? He's probably coming there with, like you say, it's almost like a learning while on the job experience. So I trust that if Ole is ever going to be given another opportunity like this to go and manage a big club, he's not going to repeat that same mistake. And if he does, then he's just not cut out to be a manager for a top flight club, because at a flight club, you need to come in there with big cojones. You know what I mean? You need to establish your authority in that squad. And that's why a lot of Man United fan supporters right now are annoyed, because he did not stamp his authority in that squad. And it was like, if these players were bullying you, you should have stood your ground as the manager and said, look, if you're going to complain, if you want to get out of this club, if you don't want to be a captain, you're not going to be part of the squad. I'm going to bench you, you know. But again, it brings back to that same problem of United have always lacked in squad depth. Right now, we are busy here debating about Anthony, we're debating about Sancho, we're trying to justify why they need to be in the squad, even though they don't even deserve to be in the squad at this current moment. Not because, you know, um, fuck, I lost my point there. But basically, um, there's no other options. You know what I mean? So we sort of have to succumb to the nonsense of the players. You know what I mean? The players they all have us, in the palm of their hands because they know themselves that they can chat shit, but the manager and the club have no other option because this squad is thin. Because after Sancho and Anthony, who's good enough to start in that place? And that's where the egos come from. Because, like, you're not getting rid of me. And if you don't want to play me, who's going to start in my position? You see how Harry Maguire was before Martinez and Varane came into the squad? Big ego. You're not going to drop me. I'm most probably your best center back in this squad. If you drop me, who are you going to start? And I'm not taking shots here, but Eric Bailly, always injured. You understand what I mean? He was never fit enough to go 10 games consistently, whereas Maguire was. So we always knew that he had a space in the team until Eric Ten Hag came and got those type of players, that could bench Maguire. And now Maguire is on the bench. And where's that ego now from Maguire? Gone, So what happened with Ole? I get the frustration, I get it, everything like that, but unfortunately, I don't really want to pin everything on, Ten Hag, you should have got rid of the players because that's just been a common problem with all the managers post Fergie, that these managers have just had a hard time getting rid of players that are just not good enough for this club, and we've had them since, you know what I mean? And it's only now that we're fortunate that their contracts have run down and we just haven't offered them a new contract. That's why most of these players have now been moved on because their contracts have expired, not because the manager was able to get them out of the club. It's simply because the contract has run down and it's like we're not going to renew it. So that's where the fortune, comes in our favor. But other than that, man, we have a lot of players that need to go. And Eric Bay, for example, he left because his contract ran down. You know what I mean? If it didn't run down, he was probably still going to be in the squad and not being used. And Eric Ten Hag was not going to be able to sell him. So that's just one of those unfortunate, problems. The other thing, obviously, that you mentioned was the players that, refuse to train and all of this and all of that. I really wish that Ole just came out and said it because I think it would really tie up to the difficulties that Eric Ten Hag is facing at this current stage. Because you'll probably find those same players are still in the squad. And those same players are giving Ten Hag those same issues that they were giving Ole. You know what I mean? Sancho comes to mind because obviously now there's been talk about, disciplinary issues and stuff like that. You know what I mean? He could be part of those players.
How can it
Sorry?
be Sancho if Sancho was Ole signing?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you get the signing, right? And remember, it's not like we didn't want Sancho. The whole United fan base wanted Sancho. Sancho wasn't a signing that United fans were not happy with. There was no one on the fence about the signing of Sancho. It's not like Mount. People on the fence about the signing of Mount. Sancho was a player that we all wanted, right?
Why?
He came into the squad because of what he did at Dortmund.
Where was he going? Why did we sign him?
Because we needed a number 7.
A right winger, right?
Yes.
Do you know what this Ole said?
What did he say?
He says Sancho prefers to play on the left. Which explains why fucking Sancho has been playing on the left ever since he has arrived. And it has never made sense why we bought a number 7 that's playing on the left. You see, D. You see where I'm going with this?
No, I get it, but again, it's difficult. It's difficult to pinpoint whose fault it is.
Was it an Ole signing or one of those vanity signings?
Exactly. Those are the questions now we start to ask ourselves. Was it one of those signings that the club decided? Was it one of those signings that Ole decided? And again, recently we talked about background checks. Because a lot of people also came out and said with the Anthony thing that really, you guys are telling me that when you signed Anthony, you honestly didn't find out that he had a case currently on his head. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things that the manager is kept completely out of the loop and only finds out all this nonsense when it breaks out. Oh, I never knew Anthony had a case in Brazil. Oh, I didn't know that when we signed Sancho, he prefers to play on the left. You know what I mean? I thought you guys were bringing him in because we needed someone in the what you call his right position. Sancho shows up for training and always like right, puts him in number 7, and Sancho looks at him like, nah, fam, I'm playing on the left, you know, and always scratching his head saying, but I thought we got you to, you know what I mean? So these are all these questions. And with Ole, since he was doing the interview, he might as well have just gone all Cristiano Ronaldo and just exposed everything. You know what I
You
mean?
see,
And named
that's why I was like,
names,
this thing is
because
so
then
annoying
it
at
would
what
have
point
it would
it's
have
made me
given
more
like
angry.
a broader clarity on exactly what's going on. You know, the same with Ralph. Ralph said he started naming players. This player, that player. You understand what I mean? Ole should have done the same. But like I said, it's something that we're gonna get mad about. Fair enough, but in Ole's case, he should take this as a learning. You know what I mean? And you should take that to whichever club is gonna be fortunate or unfortunate to coach next, and know that this is what I need to do as a manager for a top flight club. I can't go in there all willy-nilly and succumb to player power and succumb to the club. You know what I mean? The club wants it done this way, so I'm gonna do it this way. You know what I mean? If that's not you, if you don't want to do it that way, then leave the club. You understand? We'll respect you more as a manager if you leave the club, you know, and then you come out with the interview. And then that's why we respect Ralph. You know what I mean? Ralph was there for a short period of time, but we respect him more as a manager than we did all over the 3 seasons. And Ralph didn't even do anything at the club. You understand what I mean? But the sole fact that he was not prepared to like let the club get to him, and he stood his ground and said, "Look, this is what's up." You know what I mean? That's why people respect him more than they probably respect Ole, as a manager for the club.
Now, D, with everything that has just transpired, even with this interview that has come out with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, now we were discussing yesterday. I mean, not yesterday, in the previous um, episode where we talked about we can't blame the Glazers for the problems that have happened at United, or for our maybe the scores that we are getting, or the shitstorm that we are going through. In the circumstances that you just see, that is are we as do we still not blame them? Like, do we still cannot say that, nah, we cannot keep on using the Glazers? Because when you look at it, bro, those problems what he's bringing here, the rottenness is still in the club, even though we still have whatever is going on in the club. That it has that lingering smell. You know, when somebody passes by and then they leave their lingering smell. So there's still that thing there at United right now, and well, I believe it is still there, which is why everything is the way it is. Which is why I always say, nah, people should not forget that the Glazers are a huge part in this, because this Cristiano Ronaldo vanity signing, for me, it just set off a lot of alarm bells in my head, because I was like, oh my God, there are so
Yeah,
many players. You have emphasized, you have answered a question that we've been asking ourselves for a very, very long time, because we just see you buying players that we don't want. Like, we don't know if, you know, you're buying players, but then it doesn't look like it's the manager's signing, or the manager wants to use him. You know, you look at Donny van de Beek, for example. He's a very good example. You know, Ole wanted somebody else, but they're like, nah, let's get Donny van de Beek. He gets Donny van de Beek. Donny van de Beek doesn't even play. So it's just one of
yeah.
those things. So I
So
don't know.
just for clarity's sake, right?
Mm,
I
mm,
never said that, and also just for future conversations, when I'm
yeah.
saying that, don't blame the Glazers, right?
Mm,
I've always said that the blame is always going to fall on the Glazers, right? The ultimate blame is always going to fall on the Glazers. So my point I was trying to get across was, I never said stop blaming the Glazers, but I
yeah.
said that you can't. There's a line, right? There's a line where everything can't be on the Glazers. All right. And and that was specifically when we're talking about that match, when I said that we can't go and lose against certain teams we're supposed to be beating, right? And maybe the Brighton wasn't a good example because Brighton are playing very well. But we can't go and play lesser teams knowing that we have the squad to beat them and we don't beat them because the
Mm,
squad play well. And the
mm,
first thing that comes out of our mouths is it's the Glazers' fault. You understand what I mean? And we're like,
mm,
yes, we know ultimately everything is the Glazers' fault. But
mm,
you're gonna blame this result on the Glazers. Do you
mm,
understand what I mean? Like, yes, we get it, but you're telling me that this team, these players couldn't get the job done.
mm.
You understand? So just
Yeah,
for
yeah.
clarity's sake, like that's what I meant about where, you know, when we're having these type of conversations where blaming the Glazers should come into question, you know, teams that we can dispatch, yes, we should have bought better players, but you're telling me that the current squad that we have can't go and get a win against the Wolves, you know, can't go and get a win against Nottingham. Why down
D.
in the first 5 minutes? What's that got to do with the Glazers? Do you understand what I mean? Etc. Etc.
That
You
is
know?
okay. Here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. And I don't want to like to keep on dragging this thing. I get it. But the way
Yeah.
I'm hearing you, like the way I'm looking at United right now, even with Ten Hag in it, dude, we are not as good as we think we are. I don't know if let's like
We're we're not,
we are just okay, even with the players that we have. Like on
yes,
paper, we are
yes,
Man United. Like that is one
yes,
of the things. So it's not like when we go and meet the Wolves, like we are diminishing them. Okay,
yes,
fine. Let's say we go and do play Man City, and we get there, and then we get smashed. Is that the appropriate time now to say that you see now we're gonna blame the Glazers because they didn't invest in the club? But we go against these smaller teams who, in a weird way, our level is mid-table. We are all on the same level. Just only name that keeps us above them and prestige and history makes us better. But then the way we are playing football, D, we are mid-table. You understand? So
yes,
how
we
can you
are.
okay, because we're going to play Wolves who are almost in the same level as us, we struggle to beat them, and then we say no, we can't blame the Glazers because uh they didn't because they should have dispatched them. When in actual fact we're all on the same level with the same Wolves or these other teams that are difficult for us to dispatch. I understand
Yes,
where you're coming from. I do. But I'm just
yeah,
trying to look at this argument of like, but how does that work? Because
yeah,
for me, I am not overestimating us. Like I've accepted that we are a mid-table team. Until we get things right, I'm not trying to look at us above. Like I'm not trying to compare us with Man City or whatever. And the only way we are doing that, when you start saying when we're playing against these lesser teams, we should be dispatching them. That is actually overestimating our power because currently we are not at that level where we should be. We should be on paper, but in
yes,
reality, we are not. So how
yeah,
can we not blame the Glazers? Because the Glazers were supposed to sort things out so that we get the right players, so that we can have the confidence to say that these small teams, we should be dispatching them. Then we cannot blame the Glazers. You understand?
yes,
But then
yes.
when we come
So
against the big ones, the big boys, we get smashed. That's when we can say, no, we blame the Glazers because they didn't invest. But our level is not the same. I don't know
yes,
if I make sense.
you're making sense, but I think maybe you're taking my statement too direct,
No, no,
right?
no, no. No,
Because
I remember I said I
I'm
want to look
just
at it from
giving.
the other side.
Yes. Now listen, eh? I'm just giving examples, right? I'm giving examples of like extreme lows, extreme highs, right? And with these examples, I'm just trying to like put out there like when is it necessary to actually say that this is the Glazers' fault? Like for it to be the bigger conversation. You get what I mean? Because it can't it we every single match, right? And like I said, we know the Glazers are the problem, right? Yes, speaking about it, I don't know if this is going to help get rid of them. I don't know because this has been going on for years. You know what I mean? My point is, and maybe I'm not saying it correctly, maybe these examples that I'm giving are really bad, you know, but I'm just saying that we're gonna go and play teams, and let me not mention teams because it seems like if I mention teams, it's like you're using that as a direct reference. When we're
No,
playing teams,
no,
when we're playing,
at least
when we're
I'm
playing,
not. I'm not attacking it.
look,
I'm just
okay,
trying
look,
to
look,
make you
okay, look,
understand.
look. No, I get it, but what I'm trying to say is like if we want to go and have a horrible game against a team we should be beating, and let me not use dispatch, right? Because obviously I'm using
No,
extremes.
I get it. I
If,
get it.
if
I
we're
get it.
supposed to, if we're supposed to beat a team and we don't, right? For me, the the first thing I'm attacking is why wasn't Rashford playing well? Why wasn't this player doing this? Why wasn't that player doing that? Especially when you know that the team that is currently being used to beat that team did not beat them. Do you understand
Okay.
what I mean? So I'm not saying that.
Before you carry on, are we looking at this with our team full, like everybody's on form, right?
Yes,
Like we are all firing on all cylinders. Like this is the Manchester United that with the players that we have and everybody's name, like what's on paper is literally the threat
yes,
where we are supposed to be there. So that
yes,
is a
yes,
hypothetical.
yes.
What's
Now
the
look at it.
reality?
Now look at it this way, because I even mentioned in the previous episode. This thing shouldn't even be a conversation. The reason why it's a conversation is because and I'm not saying that if you're a strong team, you can't lose to a lesser team. We've seen teams like Bournemouth beat Man City. But
Yeah,
when you Man City, you can literally say Bournemouth got because City were playing well and they just lost, unfortunately. Whereas with us, we're not even playing well. You understand? We'll have the fit team, our strongest team, and we'll go and lose to a Bournemouth. And it's like, why are we even? You understand what I mean, Ben? Like you guys are not even
emphasizes my
playing.
point. Yes,
Like you're not
yes,
even playing well. You understand what I mean? You guys weren't even taking. You're not playing well. You understand what I mean? So why, in that context, should the first thing be out of our mouths to say that this we lost this game against Bournemouth because of the Glazers when we had all our players fit, we had the strong squad out there, but we went and lost just purely based off poor performance. Not even because the players played well and we got unlucky. No, because no one makes noise about Man City and all these other to lesser teams. They don't make noise because they know that the team went out there, they put in a shift, and they just got unlucky. Whereas with us, we'll have a full fit team, strong team, go and play Bournemouth, and we lose. And the conversation is, you guys played pathetic. You know what I mean? When Bournemouth go and beat City, City still have the most shots on goal. They still have the most shots. They still have the most possession. They still have the 100% more dribbles. They still have more corners. They still have. Do you understand what I mean, Ben? When we go and lose to a Bournemouth have got more possession, more shots on goal, more shots on target, less yellow cards, more possession. Do you get what I'm trying to say? The
I
team
do.
didn't perform well, but then the first thing out of our mouths is the Glazers. Like, come
Okay,
on,
D. Okay, so here's my thing. Here's my thing. So it means that we are overestimating our level.
100%. You're right. We're overestimating our
As
level.
Manchester United, we are not who we think we are because that's the only
No,
way
we're not.
we can eliminate this not blaming the Glazers, D. Like that's the
Yes, we're
only
not
way.
where was.
Because,
Yes, you're 100% right. We're not
yeah,
where we should be.
yeah.
We're not
So
where we should
people
be.
people shouldn't think. You see, like today, we, a miracle can happen. We might even go and smash. We can go and beat Bayern Munich,
Yes,
but that
yes,
doesn't mean that we are Manchester United. Because exactly.
exactly.
That's aha. Now we are getting
Yes,
something. That's
yes,
if we can if we all establish and understand that we are not who we say we are, then
yes.
then it's cool. Because like
Conversations become
today,
easy.
yeah, it becomes different. Because
Yes,
if we hang on to this thing of prestige and we're Manchester
mm,
and the players who've brought it on paper, then we'll always bring the Glazers in because we'll look for that
exactly,
scapegoat. It's easy
exactly,
for us to look for that
exactly,
scapegoat to say that nah, the Glazers didn't do this, didn't do this. But then as
exactly.
long as we know that we are not the Manchester United that we are just Manchester
Yes,
United and we have bigger issues with the Glazers, then the
Yes.
criticism of the players can sort
There
of
we
divert,
go.
sort of.
There we go. I
Because
think you've put my explanation into a better
yeah,
package. You know what I mean? You've put it
I've
in a
been
better
trying to
package.
figure out a way to eliminate this Glazer thing, because I'm like,
Yes.
I understand, but then we have to accept first that we are not
Yes.
the big
No.
team that we are.
No, no,
Because
no. Why
if we
not?
don't, then then the Glazer thing is going to stay there.
Exactly. It's always
You
going to
know
be a
what I mean?
prominent
Yeah,
topic
it's
when
going to
it
be a
shouldn't
problem.
even be in the first place. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
100%.
So yeah, man, with this Ole thing, man, it annoyed me. It evoked a lot of emotion, because I'm just like, ish. Now look at what we are going through here right now. Some of
Yeah.
the matches were lit by Ole, and it's just man.
Yeah,
But
man.
I'm glad it's out there, because now we
True.
have some sort of idea of what is going on. We can now channel our
Yeah.
thoughts and our wild, wild thoughts to
Yes.
where it is, like for example, the Lingard one, like when he said that there were players that were refusing to train.
Yeah.
I found it a little bit tricky, because I was like, I don't think Lingard would refuse to train, because he's always
Yeah.
fit. However, I
Exactly.
can understand that he could be the player that refused to train and wanted to force a move out, because we stopped
Okay.
him from going when we didn't use him. That was just one
But
of those things that
remember,
united.
I don't know if you watched the interview with Stephen Bartlett.
Mm, I
Yeah,
did.
and Lingard basically came out and exposed reasons why he wasn't starting, and he spoke about when his grandmother passed and everything like that, and you know what I mean. And we spoke about this in the other podcast episode of players or managers saying one thing, and the players are like, "Nah, I didn't refuse to start that game." You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Um, we spoke even about the Martial one with I think Ralph Ragnick or something when it's like, no, Martial didn't want to play, and then Martial released a statement saying that no, I bleed for the badge. I'm always ready to play for Man United. So I don't know
Mm,
why Ralph is coming and saying that I didn't want to play because that was not the issue. You understand what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. There must be some sort of break in communication, or this club are just trying to spin their own narrative on things that are happening, you know? Because you'll find that Ralph is like, okay, who's my squad for this weekend? They're like, da 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 da, except Martial. And then he asks, why is Martial not start? That doesn't want to, why don't I have Martial for the next game? And then they tell Ralph that, no, Martial doesn't want to play. And maybe Ralph didn't do his due diligence to call
mm.
Martial and say,
And check.
listen, I heard you don't want to play. What's the issue? So
Mm,
it actually could have just been a solve that could have been done in 2 minutes of picking up the phone and calling him and saying, I heard you don't want to play, and then we get the real story. And then when he's questioned during the press interview, whatever he says is one to one with what is actually going on, you know?
mm, mm.
It's so funny because I was watching the press conference for the Bayern game and they asked him about Harry Maguire because our defensive squad is very thin going into this match. And they
Yeah.
asked Maguire and they asked Ten Hag about Maguire and he said, Maguire, he wasn't performing in the training, so he wasn't ready to come. You know what I mean? It just reminds me of the same statement he gave about Sancho. So
Yeah.
I don't know if
He's
there's
very
a tweet.
consistent.
I don't know if there's a tweet that's pending. I don't know if Maguire is about to pull a Sancho, or is just
Because
going
he's not
to
part of the
get
squad.
field because he's not part of the squad.
Mm.
And they asked, is Harry Maguire injured? He said, no, he's not injured. He just didn't meet the performance requirements to be selected against Bayern. You know what I
Simple.
mean? So simple. You know what I mean? So
Man,
it's
I
just
love my
the guy
gaffer.
is coming out with it. So yeah, man, it's
I
it's
love
it's
my
so
gaffer.
interesting.
I know he's not elite yet, but I love
Yeah.
my gaffer. I
Mm,
love the process that's going on right now. Like, you know, if he can pull it off, it would be really, really nice to see how, because we've been following how he entered and how he has been dealing with issues and how he will finally deal with those issues, uproot those rotten apples or whatever roots or weeds, and then
yeah.
start rebuilding the club in his image. I just I hope that these players, there's something about players that is just, I don't want to say it's a phenomenon or what, but they can train, they can do everything. Come game time, you can pick this player and what, and then they just go in there
Yeah.
and something, I don't know, something
Yeah.
can just change, and then they just don't give you what you want. And then you'll be left there to answer questions about, wait, why didn't it work? And you'll be sitting there like, no, this team, I picked it based on 1, 2, 3. These guys didn't play. Then you look bad, So I really wish these players pull through.
Yeah.
I want the manager to really get hold of this, to get a hold of this club, bro. I really,
You
really
know,
do.
you know what, Ben? Like
Yeah,
Ten Hag is trying to build. He's trying to set a standard at this club.
bro.
We can clearly see that if you're not going to reach that standard during training, you're not going to be available for the match. But it still boils down to the same problem of we don't have players,
Yeah,
right? So it pains me to say this, but I honestly believe that Ten Hag is going to suffer the same fate as managers that
every
have
other.
come.
I
And the
believe
only
so too.
the only way Ten Hag is going to be successful in this Man United is until the Glazers leave. Until then, the same problems that Rolf had, the same problems that Ole had, the same problems that Van Gaal had, the same problems that Mourinho had, unfortunately, they're the same problems that Ten Hag has to bear with, you know. And as much as we wanted to believe that the managers could deal with it, unfortunately, they couldn't. And this is not
I
taking a shot at Ten Hag, not a good manager, but if he's not
I
going to
know.
be given the power to build the team in his image, he is unfortunately going to suffer the same fate. Because, like what Ralph said, this whole team needs uprooting. You need to start from scratch. You know, it's going
Mm.
to be difficult for Ten Hag to do that if he's going to have the same problems as his previous managers of wanting to get rid of players, and he can't get rid of players because of the club and because of the players. When Pep wants to get rid of players at Man City, it happens. The club gets behind the manager. When managers at Man United want to get rid of players, the club does not get behind the manager. They do not push for these players to go. They do not campaign these players. You know what I mean? Out there in the transfer market for them to leave. 29 deals. No, 30 is too little for McTominay Maguire. Do you think any other club is going to get them for more than 30? Get the 30 and keep it moving. You know what I
Right.
mean? Get
Yeah.
players this manager wants and believes are going to set the standard for us to get back to where we once were. You understand? And then from there, the money will start coming back into the club because now they're gonna bring in players that we want. These players are gonna perform. That means more T-shirt sales. That means more sponsorship deals. That means more da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's only going to be in the favor of the club. And you think that these guys are smart, Billy? Know how to think forward. You know what I mean about how this can be in their financial benefits of doing all these things opposed from doing what they think is best. And what makes it worse is that these guys who own the club are not even football fans. So they don't even know, they can't even look at it from a football point of view. They're just looking at it from an investment point of view, right? And they're using their business practices to think what is best for the club when it ain't. You know, yes, it was good to have Ronaldo back at the club, but at what cost? You know, that money that we spent on Ronaldo, even though we got him for free, the wages that we were paying him we could have gone out in the market and got two other players. You know what I mean? Split that wage between two players, and we would have had two players that could have kindly been here today instead of having Ronaldo for a season, and now he's gone. Those poor decisions because they don't understand football. They don't know what is needed. And that's what's ultimately just been the downfall of this club ever since Fergie.
Aish. Yeah. I mean, I have hope. I love my manager so much. I just feel I don't know. I see there's light at the end of the tunnel. I really do. I
Yeah,
feel like, especially when like there's some of the injury players that are back with an injury boost. Varane is back in training. Mason Mount is back in training. Kobe is also back on the grass, running, doing his thing. So the only downside about this whole thing is Wan-Bissaka, because we wanted to see him continue. So
yeah,
if we can get everybody nice and fit, we might just start to see a different United. And this is the hope that I like. This is the long term vision that I have, because in as much as we've started bad, I still have hope. I still see that little little beam of light. Like I
Yeah.
still see it. I swear I still see it, because I trust my manager. Had it been anybody else, had it been Ole, like I even with this current crop of players, I don't think it would have, because that all that
True.
mentality would have been there.
Yeah.
But then we've got the right man, the man who will stand by his standards. And
Yeah.
I love that, because I'm also a disciplinarian. I'm somebody that has been through this institution of discipline, so I understand how important it is to have it in the club and for people to be on the same page. So I have hope. I have hope, and
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
People. I mean, he might just pull another Eric Ten Hag uh, miracle. But again,
Yeah.
that's overestimating our potential, because when you look at the current state of the team, we are nowhere up there with the best. We are
No.
mid-table until we change our attitude and change how we play and get into gear. You know, other than that, I don't see it. And I just hope with the Bayern Munich game today, if it
Yeah.
say we get smashed, I just hope it doesn't affect the players, because we have
Yeah.
to still go and do a job in the weekend. We need to go and win during the weekend.
True.
That is a
True.
must. We're playing away. Our away record is not good. You know, Burnley
Yeah.
can do a shit on us. You know, they can pull a
Exactly.
number on us. So we don't want to build, like, if that happens, I just don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't
Yeah.
know how we'll be able to get out of our funk, which
Yeah.
takes me back into a lot of trauma that we've had back in the day, where once these players get into this rhythm of losing, we go through a long period of very bad performances,
Results.
and then it
Yeah.
I don't know results, and then it comes in a miracle form where we find a win and then kind of hold on to that momentum, and then it sort of fades away. I don't want that. I don't want to
Yeah.
feel that. I don't want to. Nah, I don't want that. So yeah, man. Yeah, this Ole interview really did a number on me. On me. I was upset. I was like, what the
Yeah.
hell? Why not just go all the way, Ole? Like, why tease
Yeah.
us with some information? Like I understand, like you've exposed a lot of things, which I commend you for, but at the same time, you didn't do us any favors, but not exposing, like saying names, because what if some of those names are still in the club right now?
Exactly.
You know, because then we'll be able, as a fan base, we'll be able to now say, huh, this behavior could be coming from somewhere. You know, we can channel our curiosities and our thoughts somewhere else. But you know, you've left us now again, now thinking, you know, because you know, maybe Rashford could be in there, you know, because Rashford
Exactly.
had a very bad spell with United when
Yeah.
Ole was there. You know, you never know. So yeah, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think with that one, I think we can close that one for today. I think Ole
Yeah.
has given us perspective, a little bit more insight into what we were curious about and
Mm.
actually thought, and also gave us some clarity, but
Yeah.
unknowing at how everything is just going.
The
So,
drama of
man,
Man
yeah,
United.
man, just close us for that for this episode, my guy.
Yeah. So thanks again for listening to this episode of Glory Reds FC podcast. You can catch us on all your favorite podcast listening platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Zencaster, Castbox. Man, you can catch us anywhere. Don't forget to visit our new website, gloryredsfc.co.uk. You can go and follow our social media platforms on our website. You can jump into our community page. We have our WhatsApp group, which is active and ready for all of y'all to join so you can continue with this conversation. We also have a link to our fantasy, And with that being said, thank you once again for listening to this Glory Reds FC podcast episode, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.
Peace.